We are the Amazon of real estate.
Currently, we're meeting Mark Lee with Western Acquisition. Heading to his office right now, 214. I don't even know what street this is. We just parked. Thank you very much for that, by the way. It's $15, $16 an hour for parking over here in the downtown Tennessee. Super expensive, but with Mark's hookup, his code got 4 hours parking. We schedule a meeting on an early Sunday morning with Mark, and he takes us up to his office, which is New Western. They're known to be one of the largest wholesale real estate companies in the U.S., and believe me, they are definitely no joke. We were in a market for a wholesale fourplex, and we want to learn more about the Tennessee real estate market. So this is what Mark had to say.
We are the Amazon of real estate. Properties that people don't want, stuff like that. Streamline the wholesaling industry, like CarMax has done with the car industry, and Amazon's done with the merchandise, like starting with books and then going to all kind of commodities.
And paying no taxes.
Right.
So we're relatively new to the Tennessee market.
Sure.
My brother got me very interested into it because originally I was going to go to Las Vegas and do the same exact thing.
Sure.
I'm also a poker player as well. So
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I really wanted to gravitate towards that direction,
Sure.
and plus it's closer to LA where I spent most of my time.
Sure.
But I did the research with Tennessee and Airbnb and all that, the rental market here. So the BRRRR strategy, and renting it out and buying and holding just really appealed to me. So
Gotcha.
Right now we're just working on two rental properties.
Okay.
One is going to be the Airbnb strategy,
Sure.
short term, and the other one's going to be a long term strategy.
Bullish on Middle Tennessee just in general, and that's number one. And the first and foremost is job growth. Job growth here in Clarksville with Hankook Tires, Amazon Logistics going up there, a ton of stuff. Train LG,
Google.
Train, Google, all that's just in Clarksville. Here in Nashville, they just Spirit Airlines just announced they're moving their headquarters here, moving another 500 jobs to Williamson County. Mitsubishi is moving their corporate headquarters from California to here. To give you an idea of Bridgestone, the Bridgestone Tower downtown, and HCA, Healthcare Corporation of America, both huge companies, right? They're the two largest private employers in downtown Nashville. The largest employer being the state government. Makes sense, right? State government. The two largest employers there. I think combined, the HCA headquarters, just downtown, they have auxiliary offices outside, but just downtown, and the Bridgestone building, I think combined they have about 2,500 employees. To give you an idea of that, okay, so you think, wow, that's a lot. That's two large private employers. Amazon, they're a logistics hub. They're building in the Gulch downtown. They're putting 5,000 employees there. So they're doubling the two largest already private employers right now. So that's number one. An economic collapse may put things in maybe in a holding pattern for certain like private investors or smaller investors. But it's not going to. It might just be a bump in the road. It's not going to be a falling off a cliff thing because of the job growth. The second thing is the diversification of our economy. You saw in the last, 12 years ago, a lot of the economies that were hurt were Vegas, Florida economies, Detroit, Cleveland, Rust Belt communities, things like that. And that's because they were one-trick ponies, right? I know because my family is from the Detroit area, and so everything revolves around the auto industry. So if you don't work for the auto industry, you own a business that supports the auto industry. And if you don't have a business that supports the auto industry, you sell groceries or are in a retail aspect that affects people who can buy. So if their jobs are affected, they can't buy these certain things. So the whole economy of Detroit was affected by that. Same thing with Florida, tourist economy, vacation, Vegas, gambling, everything like that. If you don't have disposable income and you got to just, buy food, shelter, and clothing, then you don't have money to go play poker and go spend money on shows in Vegas. You just don't. So one trick economies, I think, would be more with Nashville. It's not like that. In Clarksville, even too, transportation, logistics, healthcare, tourism, universities. Like I said,
there's also the military base there as well.
Military base. So you have such a diversified economy. So if one industry takes a hit, the other industries are gonna kind of level it out. Tech is also moving here as well. So you've got a lot of tech companies. Lyft Corporation is moving a lot of their operations from San Francisco to Nashville.
What?
Yeah. Google just announced they're doing a new. They already have Google Fiber starting here, but there's a new platform they're starting, and only 2 cities have started, is Austin and Nashville. So like certain things like that. So a lot of tech is moving here as well, because of Austin is a big tech thing, but San Francisco, but because also too, no state income tax here. No state income tax, that's been very attractive for employers and things like that. So I think those are 2 things, kind of a long-winded answer there, but that's just kind of a macro level. 2 things that I think that are really going to help insulate. And if you even ask people who were here in 2007, 2008, how did Nashville do through that? They fared very well because of the diversification of their economy. Even back then, it wasn't as great of an impact as it was seen elsewhere. Banks were still lending, things like that were still going. People were building, homes were put on the market in 2007, 2008. Apartments were going up. High rises were still getting funded in 2007, 2008, 2009 here in Nashville. Mm-hmm. So it slowed maybe things down a little bit. It didn't accelerate the pace, but it's still. So that's why I personally think that that's going to continue to grow. The other thing is, I think the third thing that people don't talk about is the strategic location of Nashville within the country and like the world. We are far enough east where we can access the East Coast on any kind of things with business dealings, where it's really easy to fly to Florida or New York or Boston. Same thing with Chicago or Detroit. But it's also far enough west on the eastern seaboard to get to LA and the West Coast, Seattle, San Francisco quickly as well. And so I think that's become a very strategic standpoint for Nashville too, because of its just kind of its crossroads, if you will.
Okay, one last thing then.
Sure.
Disasters, flooding. How did that affect the market here for real estate?
Well, we're not New Orleans, so that's good. That's number one. But if you're not familiar with Nashville, we actually had a great flood in 2010. I don't know if you heard about it or anything like that.
Yeah, I did a little research on it.
Yeah, so a great flood in 2010, 10 years ago. And yeah, I mean, it took out a lot of things and everything like that. City bounced back really quickly. And the fact of the matter is, most of your single family stock home here is not in a floodplain. So most of what that affected was commercial, downtown residences, flooded the stadium, things like that. Now there's different creeks and different kind of water access. Obviously, it has floodplains and things like that that were affected. But overall, flooding is not a big concern. And if you do, and if you are, there's flood insurance and yeah. And
reason why I asked that, we have investors particularly asked that question. So there was there's flooding issues over there.
Yeah.
How are we going to be protected?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, flooding issues, anything with flooding issues, number one, if it is in a flood zone or anything like that, they've redone all the flood maps after 2010 to accommodate for any of those areas that did flood in 2010. Any areas that because there were areas in 2010 that said it will never flood, and they ended up flooding in 2010. So they're protected through flood insurance, and that ranges from anything. And usually we'll indicate that on particular projects. We actually had one this past week that was in a floodplain and had flood insurance for $60 a month. So anything that happens, we're covered under that flood insurance program, just like you would under title insurance or homeowners insurance, or California earthquake policy or stuff like that.
If you're a real estate investor, then you already know that making money is from buying at below market values. If you want a list of wholesale properties in your city, Mark or his company, New Western, can probably help you with that. I'll leave their contacts in the description below. If you would like to see more videos like this, please let us know in the comments. Again, this is Cavan Mitchell. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.